Hello, I am Tiffany, and you are tuned in to Topics with Tiffany. So, I'm a couple days late, or more than a couple for you. So, I normally film on the 17th, but I was super busy going to see my family. This was the first trip that I even took out of state since, I think it is, yes, the first trip I even took since the whole thing with the pandemic, right? Since I came back from Germany, which was like January 30th or 31st, because I haven't gone anywhere since. Just been stuck in Massachusetts. So I was in Maryland and it was nice. And I was like, this would be a perfect time to do Topics with Tiffany. And like, I can do it with my cousin who like watches, a bunch of my Topics with Tiffany videos, but she refused to get on camera. I was like, even just behind the camera, just, lend your voice or give me a topic. Anyway, it was busy. It was a busy weekend anyway. It's fine. But what was cool that uh the coolest thing I guess from the weekend, one of the coolest things, because I don't really have a topic, but I'll I'd say that okay, I had this really good conversation with my uncles, two of my uncles. Three out of four of my uncles were there. I have more than four uncles, but my mom's side, so my mom's family. Um, three out of four of my uncles were there. I had a really good long conversation with two of them on I mean, I had a good long conversation with all of them, but this particular time it was two of my uncles, and we write and we all write, and so we have on occasion talked about our writing and poetry and stuff. And yeah, it was like this really cool conversation about our processes and what is more our style of writing or and inspiration and stuff like that. And so actually while we were having the conversation, I wrote a poem, and then I was like, you guys have to like follow up with me within a week and you know I guess share your poem that came up from this conversation, because there were a lot of things that were discussed. And so it wasn't mine wasn't really on like the subject matter. It was really on just that experience of actually being able to share um, things like that with relatives and having um, those conversations and storytelling and I guess the importance of sitting with relatives and talking about stuff, especially elders. Um, yeah, and so like that's kind of always been my thing, where I just like ask questions of my elders and like, what was this like, and da da da, and because it's important to get their experiences and things that they've gone through and what certain things were like for them. And like I'm known to be that person, or like asking my grandmother, how did you fall in love, and and like things that people don't really think to ask their elders. But I'm just like, I always see people as people, not just you're my grandmother or you're my uncle, like you're a person. So yes, so it was a really cool like conversation. So yeah, a couple of us, we shared our poems. So obviously I shared the one I just wrote on the spot while we were talking, and we were talking about like I was sharing self excavation things that I do, which a lot of the questions I got from Little Infinite, which is like a poetry website, and they have different poetry contests and stuff. And so they had one article about excavation, and they had all these questions, and I tend to um, go off of those questions when I am looking at something. And yeah, I did that for like probably more than 6 months, and wrote a poem every week off of that. So I was talking about that with them, because now I'm actually teaching a class about it at Bloom Healing Arts Academy. So that's great. And yeah, so I don't know, it was just kind of like this, it's one of those moments where like that particular evening, that was like Friday night, it's like one of those really good moments where you connect, which honestly is kind of rare, when you find people who are like on your wavelength with things that you enjoy. So, and discussing things that are just like it's second nature to us. It's like we have to do this, we have to write poetry. That's what we do. So, yeah, it was cool. And so I guess that's my topic is I don't know. I guess sharing moments with elders, I guess, is kind of the topics I had more than just that. Like I talked to my other uncle that was there for a long time, and we had this conversation about like relationships and dating and things like that. And um, it was me and my other cousin and several of like a bunch of my cousins were there. It was me and one of my cousins and my uncle, and then at first, and then it was just me and my uncle, and then it was just like I don't know, this deep conversation. And he's like, I probably shouldn't be telling you this. I'm like, it's fine. Like, it's fine. So, like, I guess taking the time to see your elders as people, which has always been the norm for me. But yeah, and having conversations that you probably wouldn't think to have but are important because they are people, and sometimes they just want to talk about stuff and get things out, and there's things that you could be talking about that you have in common. And yeah, some really good conversations this weekend. And yeah, it was nice. It was lovely. So a little bit cold. It's colder here in Massachusetts, of course. But yeah, I guess, are you taking the time that you could have, with your elders, and do you make sure to actually look at them as people and not putting them as a pedestal of, well, they're my grandparent or they're my whatever. And I spent time with my grandmother as well. I put earrings on her and did her lipstick and did her hair on Saturday. And yeah, that was cool. I didn't ask her a bunch of questions because I've asked her a million already. She knows that she tells me all this stuff. Because I've always just been the inquisitive person. So, whereas I think a lot of my aunts and uncles probably don't know where she and my grandpa met. Like, I asked her that years ago. So yeah, do you take the time to sit with your elders and have talks about like what you guys could have in common, and ask them questions about their lives and seeing them as a person and not just as your relative or your elder, or yeah, it's important to humanize people. I think that's the thing, is like we see people in one way but we don't ever humanize them. But like, oh no, but they're just my aunt. And it's like, no, they're a person. She's a woman. She's gone through things. And so I'd say that the fact that I ask those questions has been really helpful for me when I look at my life, or when I try to put things into perspective. And also when I'm receiving advice. And then it's like, if I already know a lot of that person's life, then I also know, I guess, how much I should really weigh the advice given to me by that person seriously. And so, not just listening to somebody because they're your elder, but it's like you actually have background on what their life was and if you should really be taking that advice or not. I mean, it's given me a lot of perspective. So I guess, are you taking advantage of the opportunity that you have to learn from the people around you, instead of just taking them at surface level? Yeah, I guess that's the topic. That's the point. Okay, So let me know if you have these conversations, if you've thought about it, if you've or if, let me know if this is something that you're going to do from now on. So make sure you have that you have time for these conversations. Yeah, I would say that's probably how one of the reasons I've become a super well-rounded individual. And everybody's like, you know all this stuff, and it's like, well, I asked the questions. So yeah, okay, I'll let you know what you think, and if you'll do this from now on. And yeah, I'll talk to you later.